I do a lot of events at McCarthy Stone. This is the very first antiques valuation event I've done for McCarthy Stone. So if this turns out to be a complete disaster, don't blame me, right? So, listen, there's always plenty of Prosecco at McCarthy Stone, let me tell you. There really is. But that's a wonderful development, and it's amazing the things that you've brought me as well, because, you know, I've been doing events like this for years, and sometimes you go somewhere and you get there full of expectation and there's nothing there to look at. We're going to be here till next Tuesday. Have you got enough time? Yeah. Oh, you're all right, that's fine. So you checked your watch already, madam. That's a real worry. When the audience start checking the watch like 3 minutes in, that's a real worry, I promise you. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to ad hoc, I'm going to pick up a couple of things, a few things, we'll talk about them. I'll ask you questions, you can ask me questions, and anything I don't cover in the talk, we'll do afterwards. We'll just get together and we'll go through it. I'll make sure that everybody gets some sort of information and evaluation and that kind of thing. So I think we're going to start nice and easy. I'm going to quiz you a bit because I'm assuming you watch the BBC antique programmes. Oh, you do? Yeah. You do? Yeah. Do you learn anything from them? That's the thing. Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm going to test you. I'm going to test you because the great thing with the world of antiques is this. In this business, there are loads of rules of thumb. And if you apply these rules of thumb, especially when filming, it's marvellous because you can come across as being really clever. I've been getting away with that for 20 years on television. And another thing, here's a top tip, don't tell anybody. If you don't know it, make it up. That's the thing. Are you agreeing, sir? Yeah. Oh, good man. I've been getting away with it all my life. Right. So, fire away with questions, anything you want to know about the making of the programs. My YouTube channel I'm developing, this is for YouTube. I hope you don't mind, but you're going to be on YouTube, so don't worry. If you don't want to be on YouTube, if you're with, you know, the wrong husband, wrong wife, the tax man is after you, then sit over here. I won't film you. Or just hold a newspaper in front of your face, or something like that. So yes, I'm going to test you. So I'm going to start nice and easy. Where are we going to go? Let's start. Now this is all ad hoc, so I'm going to film the object that we're talking about as well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it may be very wobbly. Right. So when you are looking at an object when filming, as an example, I'm going to pick up this little cup and saucer, and you're with a contestant. The contestant is going to give you this object, and they're going to expect you to come up with lots of interesting information immediately, because these antique programs are filmed as they are, absolutely on the hoof. There's no mucking about, there's no Antiques Roadshow where you get half an hour to research and then come across. You've got to do it. So, first of all, who owns this little cup? You do, madam, right in the front row. Perfect, look. It's as if I planted her there. You tell us about it while I show it around.
Well, my husband bought it me for my 60th birthday.
Your husband bought it for your 60th, very nice.
And we go to a lot of antique shows, and there's one in Harrogate, and it was there, and I've been looking at those for years. And he came up with it, and I didn't know, and he got it from Harrogate.
Right. Do you know what he paid for it?
No, I don't.
You don't know? Okay.
You can't ask me.
You can't ask, no. But you can with my shows, madam, you can, absolutely, luckily for you. So, does anybody recognise the maker?
Yes.
Not you, madam, we know you know which one it is. Honestly. Anybody else? Can you see? It's who said Worcester? Madam, yes, it is Worcester. Round of applause for you. Well done. It is absolutely Worcester, and it's a little, I suppose, a tea cup and saucer, tiny little thing, hand painted. Do you know that the design of this Worcester particularly, the fruit design, all hand painted by an artist called Townsend, this one, which is a very good artist.
It's signed somewhere, isn't it?
They're all signed. All Worcester pieces are signed. Now, the great thing about Worcester is you know that it's fantastic quality, because Royal Worcester has always been fantastic quality. It's been around since the 18th century for at least 250 years. Are you coming in, madam? Yes, you coming in. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Don't worry, it's always good to get a new member of the audience, and it's great to build them up because, by the way, you can't leave. All the doors are locked, right? There are no escapees here. So Royal Worcester, fabulous quality, hand painted. But again, when you're filming, that's not enough. You've got to say when it was made, by whom, Townsend the artist, that's fine. And it's crucial in the world of antiques, date. Date is absolutely crucial. So here comes the really good rule of thumb. I'm going to test it. What I now need, I've almost lost it. Here we are. I now need the little saucer itself. Who has good eyes? I'm in the wrong room. Madam, tell me, right, what I want you to do is look at the base and tell the audience exactly what you see. Read it out.
Royal Worcester.
Excellent.
Made in England.
That's enough. That is enough for me to come across as being really clever on television. Made in England. Gives me the date. Do you know how to date it by the made in England bit? Again, rules of thumb. Not the font.
Don't they have little dots?
They have the little dots to get the year exactly. But when you don't have all the reference books to get the year exactly, you can get it with a rule of thumb. So this is the rule of thumb. No pottery or porcelain has ever been made prior to 1892 with the back stamp of the country of origin. So in 1892, the Americans insisted that any piece of pottery or porcelain made outside of the United States of America, when imported to the States, must carry its country of origin back stamp. Pottery, cups, whatever. So Germany, England, Italy, whatever. Everybody started marking, after 1892, their country of origin. And that will be just about every pottery firm in Britain did that. Worcester were exporting, but if you were making in Barnsley 3 pots a week, you would still start stamping your ware England, because it made you look like you were an exporter. It made you look bigger than you actually were. It's all about perceived, isn't it? Building that business. So in 1892 that happened. Then just after the First World War, 1918, people started adding the made in bit. Made in England, post 1918. So you know instantly, where I can tell you whilst we're filming, this was not made prior to 1892, and I can tell you it was made just post First World War, circa 1920s, by just reading Made in England. Now you tell me that doesn't make me look clever. It makes me look clever. So that's when it's made, 1920s, 1920s, maybe into the 30s, but certainly pre-Second World War, so pre-1939. And beautiful quality. And these things were made in sets, but also they were so expensive when new that you would buy individual pieces and collect them over possibly a lifetime. Now, the thing when it comes to value, now are we allowed to talk about value? Good. She might be buying herself another apartment here to rent out in a moment.
I wish.
Traditional antiques over the last, I would say 20 years, 10, 15, 20 years, have really imploded in price. They really have. People think that the world of antiques is a stuffy, staid business. It doesn't change, but it does. It's like any other business. So traditional pieces, particularly furniture, have imploded in value. Worcester pieces have definitely gone down in value. However, there are certain rule breakers, and this piece probably is a bit of a rule breaker, because the Royal Worcester fruitware has always been desirable. It is so collectible, and these things are almost used as pieces of currency. They always have a set value. And so for a hand-painted little teacup and saucer like this, it's a piece of art, isn't it? That's what it is. I mean, if it was on canvas, you'd put it on the wall. It is that good. And I would say if you went to an antiques fair, you'd probably have to pay for the pear, cup and saucer. Any guesses? Don't be shy. £100, £80, any more? 550 sold! Well done, congratulations. No, 200. I reckon you'd have to pay £200, maybe even £250. And why wouldn't you? It's absolutely beautiful. A round of applause for you. Thank you very much. Yes. So that's not a bad investment, actually, to keep, is it? Right, actually, here's another one for you. Another rule of thumb and a fascinating story, in actual fact. I want to talk to you about watches. We've got the perfect two examples to tell the story that I want to tell. Who owns this pocket watch? Over there, sir. Can you tell us how long you've had it for?
Since the death of my father. That's 19-some years ago now.
Right. And how long did your dad own it for?
I've no idea.
And do you know what it's called?
Well, it's a pocket watch, but I'm not sure. It's a Hunter? I don't
It is a Hunter, but it's actually not a full Hunter. It's a half Hunter. And a half Hunter is the Hunter is fully enclosed to protect the actual face of the watch. The half Hunter just has half a piece of glass. So when you are hunting, you're riding on your horse, you can just see it and it's still really well protected. So it's an action watch. Did your dad wear it?
I assume so, on special occasions, I suspect.
Yes. Do you not remember him wearing it?
No.
No? So was it something that when he passed away you just discovered?
Yes.
Right. Well, that would often be the case in actual fact, wouldn't it, with these watches? Because, you know, a pocket watch after the First World War was a very old-fashioned thing. So maybe it might have even been something that his father had, because that is 9-carat gold. So it's solid gold on a solid gold chain. Who is wearing a pocket watch today?
Me.
You are wearing a pocket watch?
Not today.
No, today.
Not today.
Oh.
But every day when I go out.
Every day. Sorry, do you not call this going out?
Don't call this going out.
You do wear a pocket watch?
Yes.
Well, you're a real rarity, and I admire you for it. Right, good for you. Now, that, gentleman, is a rarity. But my question to you is this. I'll come on to the value of this and its collectability and everything else in a moment. It is hallmarked 9-carat gold, but it's not a British one, you know that. You can tell by the hallmarks. Again, it's dead easy, this business. If you've got an interest in the world of art and antiques, it's dead easy to learn. It is hallmarked, but it doesn't carry the British hallmarks. It carries an import mark, so it's likely to be American or continental. And then when it was imported to Britain, early part of the 1900s, it was stamped, checked to be 9-carat, and they gave it the authority, the stamp. But it's British hallmarked pieces that are the best in the world, and they can date it literally to the year and the maker and the town. This one you can't. You've just got to sort of guess at it. There is an import mark, but probably early 1900s. But my question to you is this. Out of a room of what, I don't know, 30 people, one person wears a pocket watch. One person. And you, sir, I bet you've been told this before, you're rare.
Absolutely.
You are, definitely. He's a one-off, all right, I can tell. Now then, why then do we not all wear pocket watches? Why are we all wearing wristwatches? Convenience.
Majority of ladies, that's why.
Well, no, ladies used to wear pocket watches, of course, slightly smaller ones than the gents. Convenience is a very good way of describing it. But where does that convenience come from? A big world-changing event. The First World War. Give them a round of applause for that. The First World War, absolutely vital. In the early part of the 20th century, early 1900s, Cartier came up with a wristwatch. They made a pilot's watch to go onto a wrist and a posh wristwatch. It never took off because it was so colossally expensive, and so it just fizzled away. Then comes the First World War, 1914 to 1918. Now, this is where it gets interesting in the world of watches. Hundreds of thousands, millions of men go to war. They're in northern France, the vast majority of them, in their hundreds of thousands in trenches getting bombarded on a daily basis. Now, in everything, love, war, business, it's all about timing. If you've got to go over the top at 3 o'clock, or you've got to send a message at 10 o'clock, you need to know that your pocket watch is safe, dry, protected, and in other words, working and telling an accurate time. But what the men discovered in the trenches and all the blood and the gore and the rats and the water was that they were losing their pocket watches on their chains, getting snared on barbed wire, getting trampled on, dropped into puddles. They were breaking their watches. And so an officer would look at his watch, it was broken. He didn't know what time it was. Vital mistake in war. So what they did was this. When they went back behind the lines for a few days rest and recuperation, they went to see the blacksmiths, and they gave the blacksmiths bits of leather from harnesses from dead horses taken off the battlefield, and they asked the blacksmiths to weld onto their pocket watches little lugs either side. Then use the straps from the dead horses to literally strap that pocket watch to their wrists. That's what they did. These watches are called trench watches for obvious reasons. And when you see these things literally manufactured from the battlefield, they send shivers up your spine. And in some cases, they were taking fine, solid gold watches, 18 karat often, and having them welded lugs on them, basically in the day ruining the value of the pocket watch, but it was more important to keep good time. After the war, 1918, manufacturers picked up on this. Men were still wearing their trench watches. Manufacturers started making watches that resembled the trench watch, and then suddenly, within a few years, very quickly, pocket watch manufacturers turned their efforts into making wrist watches. And the very first wrist watches manufactured in a factory looked just like a pocket watch with welded on lugs and leather straps, but done much neater than the blacksmiths had done on the battlefield. So that's why, ladies and gents, because your British ancestors died in their hundreds of thousands on the battlefields of France, you wear wristwatches today. Let's give them a round of applause, shall we? And I'll give you evaluation in a moment. Let me just move on from that, because this is wonderful. I couldn't really have asked for anything better. So moving on from pocket watches, can you tell me who owns this silver watch? That lady at the back there. A lovely silver watch. This watch, let me show it around. It's marked quite obviously Rolex. You've all heard of Rolex. One of the biggest brands in the world when it comes to watches. And particularly right now, men's Rolexes, the sports models, have been going through the roof. In fact, Rolex is so incredibly successful today in 2022 that you cannot buy a brand new man's steel Rolex sports watch at the recommended retail price. It's impossible. So a Rolex Submariner might be £6,000. You can't buy one. You can't go into Rolex. You can't give them 6,000 quid. They won't sell it to you. It's not available. If you want it, you've got to spend £10,000. There's a watch, the Daytona Rolex, £10,000 list price. If you want it, you pay £20,000 for it. That's the brand of Rolex. Couple of questions for you before I get into this watch. Where were Rolex founded? Switzerland. They're a Swiss company. Did you know they were a Swiss company? Yeah. Rolex were not founded in Switzerland, but where? Barnsley! I think you deserve a round of applause for that. I mean, obviously completely wrong, but I don't care. I love the answer. No. Rolex They were founded in the early part of the 1900s in London. Rolex is a British company originally, but it was because of the First World War and taxes after the war. Think about it. Britain was bankrupted. The empire was bankrupt after the First World War. It had spent all its resources on winning the war. The government, hey, what's new, had no money. And there was arguments about taxes. Should we ram the taxes up and get some tax in, or should we slash taxes and have a low tax economy? What's going to work? By the way, if you look at history, we never learn from history. But we don't. We really don't learn from history. But the government decided to ram the taxes up because they had no money, which of course affected the sale of everything. Sales plummeted, including the sale of Rolex watches. Now, the Swiss saw a great opportunity here. The Swiss said, I'll tell you what, Rolex, if you decamp to Geneva, bring that lovely Rolex brand with you that everybody wants, we'll give you a real low tax rate, low tax economy. Come to Switzerland. Bring your workers, bring your skills, bring your designs. We'll have you. So they decamped in 1919, and the rest is history. We lost Rolex because of the First World War, taxation, all of that. But that's just life. That's what happens. But what's interesting with this one is take a look at it. Take a look. It's basically a pocket watch with lugs welded on, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's designed after the First World War trench watch. So it's an early Rolex. Tell us what you know about it.
That's where she bought it, and she didn't like it. And I thought, oh, I quite like it. It's pretty big. All big watches were fashionable, I suppose. But I still like it, so I bought it from them.
Okay, do you mind me asking what you paid for it?
£300.
£300. Did you know that it was, obviously it says Rolex.
It's Rolex, and I thought, I believe that it probably is, and I thought, I like it anyway. And I was a bit flush at the time, so I thought,
Well, you're going to be even more flush in a minute, I promise you. Because it's a silver Rolex. It's a hallmarked silver case. And it's an early one. It's one of the, within the first 10 or 15 years of Rolex making watches. They really formed in about 1904, 1968. I can't quite remember, but the early part of the 20th century. And it's a very, very pretty sought after watch. It's a man's watch, but it's small because men's watches were much smaller then. A lady's watch at the time would be absolutely minuscule, but a lovely thing. Valuation, what's it worth today? 500? Yeah, madam? 700? I'd pay 500 and I'd pay 700. Any more?
I think it's going to be in the thousands.
It's going to be in the thousands. 10,000. Now this one here has got a lot of money. If there are any single men in the room, I would seriously suggest. Oh no! It's one of those things, I don't know. If you look online, you'll see something similar to this at a few £1,000s. From a specialist watch dealer, it will be restored, guaranteed and cleaned up and all of that. I think if you were to sell it in auction, you paid 300. This is a bit of a stab in the dark. I'm going to say 8 to 1,200, 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, somewhere around there. Are you pleased with that? A round of applause, well done. It may even make a couple of thousand if somebody wants it, but a really special thing. And onto your watch, sir. Yours, the pocket watch, really, the world is mercenary, especially the world of art and antiques. Its value, first and foremost, is in the gold content. And so, in this world, a watch dealer will go, let's have a look at your watch. You want to sell it. They'll weigh it, first of all, check out what the scrap gold is, times it by that figure, and then give any extra add-on auxiliary value if they see it. So I'm guessing with the chain and the watch itself, it's probably, as a guess, 500 to 800 pounds. Yeah, round of applause for you. Thank you very much. That's a good thing with gold. It's a very rare metal, really, because you can take your gold rings and your gold watches, you can melt them down, it melts easy enough, and you can make it into something else very quickly. So it's a very, in that regard, environmentally friendly product if you use old gold. Where gold isn't very environmentally friendly is when you buy new gold, and it comes out of mines in Africa and South America, and people are working slave conditions and all of that. So I think really, if you buy something gold, you really want to know that it's been made from old gold, sustainably sourced gold. Shall I do one more object, and then anybody that's brought something in that I haven't talked about, we can just go through it, and any other questions that you have. What should we, oh, I'll tell you what, let's go, what should we have? Should we have the chair or the table? Madam, you choose in the middle. Chair or table?
Table.
Table. Who owns the table? Don't say it's you. You, sir. Right. This might go wrong. I'm going to pick it up. I hope it's in good condition. Is it in good condition? I'll just pick it up. Oh my, look. Did you know that it was broken? It's made to do that, don't you? You were panicking then, weren't you? You were really panicking. Anybody know where this table is from? India. It's heading in that direction. Morocco, Syria. We're going east. We're going exotic here. Very well done. Inlaid with what, would you suggest?
Ivory.
Not ivory. It's inlaid with bone. If you want to know how you can tell the difference between ivory and bone, look at my YouTube channel. Genuinely, obviously it's a ruthless plug for the channel, but there is a video there on how to tell the difference, and you need to know how to tell the difference, because having an object like this with bone is legal. Having an object like this with ivory is illegal now. All ivory is banned. If you've got a Chinese ivory tusk that was worth £100,000 this time last year, guess what it's worth now? Nothing. Completely illegal. This one, luckily for you, sir, is legal. So you're right, we're heading to the exotic. When was it made? Last week. Well, it was certainly made at least 100 years ago. Late 19th, early 20th century, and these, often referred to in the business as Syrian tables, were terribly popular at that time. Liberties in London were selling these things. I should have a look, see if there's a Liberty mark on it, because that would make a big difference. And they're very fashionable now, because they're real interior design pieces, aren't they? Have a hold of that. I mean, it's such a... You hold that, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to get the stand. They're very, very stylish and made to fold away for transportation purposes. Some people call them campaign tables, so something that can travel around the exotic world with you. So if you lived in India in the 19th century, you could travel from place to place and take your table with you.
Yeah.
Campaign furniture was popular, but more likely this was designed this way so it could be folded flat pack and posted literally in a container. 1890, 1910, a commercial piece of furniture to be shipped to the West, where we in the West have always had a fascination with the exotic. And so it's more likely that. Value-wise, how much would you pay for the table, ladies and gents? Don't you worry, I'll sell it for you. How much would you pay? Go on, does anybody want it? I would want it. I think it's terribly stylish, and it's worth about £150. I think it's a nice one. Give them a round of applause for that. What type of bone? Yes. So they will use animal, but like cow bone. Cow bone. Yeah. So okay. Well, I think that's it. If there's no more questions, I'll now stay here and we'll go through anything that I haven't covered. But ladies and gents, thanks very much for bringing these things in. Lovely to see you. Come and see me now. Brilliant. Come and see me.